Hey, what's up everybody? It's the week of the 27th. I'm Tomas.
I'm Thomas.
And this is TechBus. Hey everybody, thank you for joining us again. This is episode 3. We're really excited. We got some good feedback from everybody, so we're working on improving the show. Before we get into it, just kind of give you a heads up, I'll be talking about an interesting article I found from Yahoo Tech about Apple is laying the groundwork to kill passwords. Tom, what did you find?
Yeah, this week I'm going to be talking about email marketing and some cool integration tools for doing marketing campaigns.
Awesome. When we come back, we'll kind of let you know what we've been going through this week, and I'll give you our honorable mentions for you to go out and search the web for. Welcome back, episode 3. About to get into some tech news and let you know about this password thing I found out. But first, Tom, why don't you let me know what's been going on this week?
Sure. Yeah, I've been working on a couple interesting projects around surveys, and this week we've been doing some requirements gathering, finishing up an iteration of development, and just kind of specking out what we want to accomplish over the next few months to the end of the year.
Nice. Besides
that, we are also got done kind of doing a big evaluation of some different online marketing products. That's a little bit what I'm going to share about today, and some of the tools we found and options out there for people to work with online marketing, how to integrate some of these different tools.
Nice.
And getting ready to gear up for next couple weeks, we're going to have our release where you can sign up for a product we have called Axiom Workspace. Nice. Online, so we're getting ready for some of that as well.
Awesome. We'll have to devote a whole show to that because I've got some time to jump into it. It's really interesting. As far as myself, pretty uneventful week. Had a great weekend, spent a lot of family time. Excel's been my best friend this week, so I really don't have too much to report. But before I get into my segment, which was the password, I found some interesting news, some runner-ups that we wanted to mention. So if you have some time, look at these up. First is BBC.com, technology news. China has created the most powerful supercomputer. Did you see this?
I heard about it. Yeah, and they're using all their own hardware too, so they're not the chips and everything. I mean, I'm sure they were probably ripped off from American companies or something like that, but apparently they're not using chips that were made outside of China. So
let me give you just some. So it's called the 93 petaflop Sunway Taihu Lite. And it was installed at the National Supercomputing Center. And what's wootsy, at its peak, the computer can perform around 93 trillion calculations per second. There's a lot more interesting numbers that would mean a lot more to you guys than it would to me. So check that out when you can. Also from Yahoo Tech, Google co-founder Larry Page has been secretly bankrolling companies working on flying cars. So according to this article, the CEO of Google, a parent company Alphabet, has contributed over $100 million on personal aviation startup C.Aero.
Well, they're kind of late to the game because Back to the Future Day was last year.
Right.
And they should have flying cars and hoverboards by now.
Yeah.
We got the self-tying shoes from Nike.
That's true.
The Cubs didn't win the World Series.
Yeah, you're right.
And
we just need some hoverboards.
We need some hoverboards. And Jaws 19, so.
So check that out. Short article, but pretty interesting. And then finally, Yahoo Tech again. Yahoo Tech contributors posted 20 of the funniest dad-related Google searches, and I thought this was funny because we just had Father's Day, and we're both proud fathers. And before I get to Nebraska's #1 search by dads, the funniest one I saw, number 17, Pennsylvania, does Rogaine work? And I'm here to tell all my fellow dads, it does not. But Nebraska, do you have any guess what our dads...
What's
just the #1 search criteria of dad-related Google searches from Father's Day?
dad-related Google searches?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
So Nebraska was Clark Griswold of the National Lampoon's Vacation movie. So apparently that's what fathers are Googling from Nebraska. When we come back, we'll get into something a little bit more serious, talking about Apple is laying the groundwork to kill passwords. We'll see. Hey everybody, welcome back. Third episode of TechBus. TechBus, as you know, is technology and business. My talking point today, Apple is laying the ground to kill passwords. So the reason I brought this up is because I see this as a huge trend. I saw it a long time ago when I think it was Windows who did the facial recognition. It started being able to recognize your face so you can get in your computer. Well, this particular article, I'll kind of give you an idea of what it's talking about. It's very specific. But with the Mac OS Sierra, the new operating system coming to Mac in the fall, you can automatically log into your computer without typing your password as long as you're wearing an Apple Watch. So clever marketing, lots of products sell, and that's okay, but the technology is really what I'm trying to get into. How it works when you're logged in to your cloud, on both your Mac or Apple Watch, your watch shares its location with the Apple servers. When you're within 3 meters or so of your Mac, your iCloud tells your computer it's safe to unlock without a password. So you can open your MacBook with just a wiggle, or just type some stuff in. What makes it safe, they say, is because you have to unlock your Apple Watch with a password first. What I found with this, and we can go more into that article, along with it, was entrepreneur.com had 5 wacky ways we may soon be able to verify our identities, which is edible electronic capsules, body odor, electronic tattoos, brain waves, and heartbeats. So what I wanted to explore is a couple things. I wanted to get your opinion. First, is this making things more safe, or is it making things muddy because it's specific to the human being and not, it's a code that you can crack? What's your idea? What do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I think that things are gonna have possibly multi-form authentication.
Mm-hmm.
With credit card numbers being stolen and passwords being, stolen, that, these type of biometric authentication have become more prevalent.
Right.
The whole Apple thing, I don't know if they're just trying to sell Apple Watches or what.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's probably going to be the future, is, basically.
As somebody who runs a
passwords.
security company, is that something you would freely implement, like thumbprints, facial recognition, stuff like that? Does that make you feel more secure, or do you feel like the password is still the best way to go about securing and locking down your stuff?
I mean, for right now, yeah. I mean, people are going to find ways around all this stuff.
Right.
Like facial recognition, you could have a picture, or,
Right.
With the Apple Watch, I was curious, like at 3 meters, like, so if I'm just sitting here and talking to somebody else, like, you can get into my laptop, right over there, I don't know.
No, that's very true. Yeah, all you have to do is be logged in, and yeah, that's absolutely true. So there's always what you would say, crevices or cracks for everything.
Yeah.
But I kind of see this as moving towards more security, especially with, say, identity via print, physical, and maybe like heartbeats and odor. Let me read you something about this right here. Machines could soon take jobs away from bloodhounds trained to identify people in their scents. According to researchers at the Polytechnic University of Madrid, there are unique characteristics in each person's body odor that remain constant and can be used to determine identity. The biometric technique has an error rate of 50% in early stages of development, leaving room for improvement, but also showing promise that it could be a viable method with more fine-tuning.
50%, that's
15.
Oh, 15.
So if they're getting that, if I have a unique scent that nobody can replicate, and we have machines that smart, I would think that things are going to start getting even more secure. But with that, with giving technology or facial, do you see that as your identity, kind of wavering because you're allowing these people to scan your face and get your thumbprint?
Or more like privacy issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think that's part of it, with the whole getting into your iPhone with your thumbprint. Like,
right.
Now they have this huge database of thumbprints, There's always that balance between privacy and security. And I think that interesting is it seems like the trend is people don't care about privacy anymore. They just want convenience. Like, oh, get me into my account faster. And
What trends have happened that make you feel that we've kind of given up that privacy fight for just convenience?
look at Google. I mean, they track everything you do.
Right.
And, you know, people hem and haw about privacy, but
Yeah.
I mean, most people just use Google because it's easier, you know, it's faster.
Right.
So, you know, I know there's alternatives out there like DuckDuckGo and that sort of thing, but the average person probably still using Google. So I just think the American consumer culture, like, they care more about convenience
Right.
and getting a good product than they really care about personal privacy. And I think that that's the trend, you know. The people don't necessarily feel the threat is big enough to worry about. So
Privacy is really important when you're creating applications. Do you see this moving towards maybe making your efforts to make more secure applications more prevalent in what you develop, because we're getting so lax with that kind of stuff?
yeah, I mean, I personally, if you're wanting to make something really secure, I like multi-phase authentication. So
Explain that.
So instead of just one form of authentication, you have multiple forms of authentication. So you have to log in with a password, but then you get a text message on your phone, and you have to put the code in. So you're verifying that you have the phone and the password, things like that, and maybe incorporating like a biometric element into that authentication where, yeah, you can. I think it would be cool if the computer could recognize you and you put in a password and it had to be those two together instead of just one, you know.
Right.
So there could be a number of different combinations, and it's going to be, I mean, the hardware too, like the limitations, not every phone has the same hardware, but every computer has the same hardware
Right.
to be able to get those biometric inputs. So I think that's probably some of the things that will have to change. So
Yeah.
what do you think? Like, do you care about privacy?
I do care about
Do
privacy,
you
and
use Google
I do use Google, and I often wonder,
and Facebook
and Facebook, and I often wonder how I just visited something and then I go to Facebook and it's literally like, do you want to attend this conference? And it's like, whoa, like are you reading my mind? Like that,
Yeah.
You really think that? But I mean, is that in the fine print? Because I don't think necessarily people like me who are maybe not technology savvy, but maybe not don't consider ourselves, you know, outside of the loop. Is that somewhere in the fine print that they do that? Because I've never read something like that. I mean,
that they can track you.
right, that they track everything that you click on. I mean,
Yeah.
or is that just a right of theirs and they don't have to let us know?
No, I mean, you have rights. When you sign up for a website, they have to have the terms of conditions and privacy rights, and all that stuff's on there when you sign up, just nobody reads it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you know, even things like TVs, and smart TVs are picking up sounds and things like that, and I think it's just a case in point. Like you care about privacy, but not,
Did that change? Yeah.
not enough to
Right.
stop using these services that are so convenient. You care more about convenience than privacy.
Right.
And until that, you know, I'm the same way. You know, fundamentally I say, yeah, I care about privacy, but I don't, obviously my actions prove I don't care about it enough to give up the convenience of things like Google, Facebook, having a phone. I mean, because let's face it, if you have a smartphone and you're on Facebook and you have Google,
Mm-hmm.
you have no privacy. Like
That's
they know
crazy.
where you are,
That's crazy.
where you are at all times.
Right.
They know what you're searching for. They know all the websites, 99% of the websites you're going to. So all that stuff is somewhere, you know, and they sell that information. You know, who knows, the government can request access to that information,
Right.
all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, the only thing I could suggest is like get rid of a cell phone
Right.
and get off the internet. Go churn butter somewhere in Pennsylvania, I guess.
Right. As a businessman, do you see that the trend is going to be for
I just put the tape on always put tape over my,
over your
webcam,
camera?
right?
Really? Let me see. That's crazy. So is the trend then for companies, like say for yourself, is that figure into development? Is making the process faster or more robust but still accessible for people, so they can, if the world wants to move that fast, does that go into your mind when you develop these?
Sure,
things?
yeah. I mean, authentication is always important in security. I mean, every application you do has to keep that in mind, especially when you have things like HIPAA compliance and
Right, and
PHI.
you do that. I
Yep.
know that you told me. Yeah, how hard is that? Is that stringent?
There's just a lot of extra things you have to put in place within data at rest, data in flight, encryption. Who has access to the personal information? Do they need to have access? There's just a lot of processes, procedures, and technology you have to put in place to work with health sensitive information. And things like PCI compliance with credit cards, there's a whole other thing with that. So yeah, there's a lot of things you have to do if you want to start getting some more secure information. And also just authenticating users. There's different ways to authenticate. We talked about multi-phase, different stores of security like Active Directory or going against SQL or authenticating your account against Google. There's all different ways to authenticate users, so those are all considerations whenever you're developing an app.
Are those credit card chips now that come on credit cards, is that to prevent those people who are using those machines to read them as they were being swiped?
Yeah, I think that's part of it, and I think, I haven't delved into the technology too much, but I think it's also there's like a two-way handshake that goes on, so there's like some sort of encrypted data on your card, and then it sends like a token. I think it's basically, it has the public key on the card, and it sends that back to Visa's servers or whatever,
Right.
and they have the private key to kind of authenticate that this is really the card,
Oh, nice.
and then it goes back. That's my understanding of it, I could be wrong about that, but basically that's why it takes a little while when you put the card in there,
Right.
because it's doing an encryption handshake back to the credit card servers to authenticate that this is really your card.
Right, and to go along with your point, I've seen people at the checkouts and they just like flip their mind because it takes a little extra second, from the swipe.
Exactly, they care more about convenience than
They're
privacy.
just like going crazy. So to kind of wrap things up, people, the wave of security is multi-platform, and just be aware of your rights. And when we come back, we'll get into some marketing.
Everybody, thank you for coming back to TechBus. We're in our final segment here. We're going to talk about some marketing tools out there and things that you can leverage to use technology in marketing. So we'll get right into it. I wanted to go over a couple tools that we've been looking over. We spent about the last 3 weeks kind of evaluating different tools, and these are some of the results we came up with. So first we have Salesforce. So they have a marketing cloud and another program called Pardot. Basically, it allows you to do email campaigns, to integrate all your social media campaigns into the system, and to have workflows. So say you send out a campaign to a certain number of users, and then you want to take all the people who actually open the email, put them into a new bucket, and send them a second follow-up email. People who don't open it, would go into a different workflow. So you're able to create these workflows and manage all your campaigns through that. And it's a really robust system. It's a little expensive, so just some price points on that. Users have to be at the Lightning level, which is $75 a user, and then the marketing cloud is $1,000 a month. So, but you can have multiple users go into that. So it's kind of pricier than some of the other alternatives we looked at, but it does give you that kind of full integrated solution where it integrates with your CRM, integrates with data.com, so you can kind of manage that whole contact lead cycle where you pull in leads from data.com, put them into your CRM, run campaigns against them, run them through your different marketing funnels, and then basically you have a whole history of that whole contact point. It also has some other interesting stuff, some A/B testing that you can do on websites and emails and stuff. And
Now what's that? What's A/B testing?
A/B testing is where you have something on your website or in your marketing campaign, and you basically have two options. Like maybe the header says this, and there's this type of graphic, and then option 2 is this a different.
Oh, okay.
And then you run a test, and you say, how is the user reaction? So the users are reacting better to option B versus option one, or option A.
Right.
So you run the test and you're like, okay, option B's better, and then that's the solution you go with. And you can keep doing those tests to refine down the content of your website. Or this is actually used in application development as well. Like when you're creating a user interface, you have A/B testing where you can create two interfaces, let the users use it, and then kind of get feedback of what the best experience is. So that's where that comes from. Another one we looked at is MailChimp, and this is kind of more a cost-effective solution, and this really just does the email marketing.
Okay.
If you have 2,000 subscribers and 1,200 emails per month, it's free.
Okay.
So it's a good thing to get started with. This is what we originally were using. There's some additional price points here, $1,000 to $1,500, $20 a month. That's for subscribers, and it goes up. The more subscribers you have, the more you pay. But it's really quite cost effective. So another product we looked at is Drip, which I actually got to meet the guy who developed this out in Las Vegas a few months back. I went to a conference called MicroConf, and it's basically self-funded startups. People who are trying to create software without raising venture capital. They all go out and meet and network. And he's one of the guys that runs this campaign, or runs this he runs the conference, but he also owns this and runs this SaaS product. And the differentiator between this and just like something like MailChimp is basically a drip campaign. What a drip campaign is where someone comes to your website and they sign up for your newsletter, and then a drip campaign is basically a series of emails that are sent over a certain time interval. So maybe you're somebody who signs up for my website, mailing list, and the first day you get this email and it says something, and then a week later you get this letter, and there's just a whole sequence, and then 3 weeks later you get this email, and if you don't open the first one, then you get this email. It has some of the workflows built into it as well.
Nice.
But basically they call it a drip campaign if you kind of just think of the emails just kind of dripping in slowly.
Right.
So you can manage that. It's a pretty cool tool. And the last one I was going to look at is a product called Zapier, which this is kind of an interesting concept. We talked about some different tools here that you have.
Right.
What this thing does is it integrates them in what they call zaps or steps or things like that. Let me give you an example of some of the things that you can plug in here, just of all the different technologies they have, like Google. They have Google Documents, Slack, Trello, Gmail, Salesforce is probably in here as well. Salesforce, you can almost think of anything. Let me see. I think there's over. Let's see what they said. I think it was over 500 different types of technologies. MailChimp, Dropbox, HubSpot, all kinds of different software, LinkedIn. And what happens is you can basically set up these steps and integrate these different technologies into your marketing or sales pipeline. So basically when someone comes to your website and say they sign up for your newsletter, and then you want an email to get sent to your Gmail account, a Slack message to go to your sales department Slack channel, and then you also want that contact to get put into your Salesforce CRM.
Wow.
All that stuff happens when they do something on your website and you know who that user is. So that's what they call zaps, these different steps. And this tool allows you to kind of set that up in a very user-friendly type of interface where you can come in and say, okay, the first thing that happens, we get a MailChimp entry, and then you get to extend the workflow and say, okay, this is the next step that I want to happen.
Nice.
So it's kind of cool if you have some different technologies and you want them to work together. And this is also pretty affordable. Let me go back to the pricing page. I think you get 2 zaps for free, and zaps are basically steps. So like if you sign up for a MailChimp account or a MailChimp entry, and then you want that to go to Salesforce, that would be one step, and then there'd be one more step after that.
Nice. I think if you go back one page, you saw
yeah, that's where it was.
Yeah.
So free for 5 zaps, 2 steps. So, and then you have to pay if you want more 3 steps and more zaps. So, it's a pretty cool tool if you want to try to integrate some different features and technology that you're using. So.
Is this kind of like and correct me if I'm wrong, it kind of reminds me of like a high-level macros where you program stuff to happen. The one I used to use, you manually would do everything and record that, and then you'd set it to do it, moving forward. It would do all those steps for you, so.
Yep, it's kind of a tool to integrate some, disparate technologies and makes it user-friendly so you don't have to write code, and
Nice.
so it's a good option out there.
As a owner of a business, I know you found how important is marketing for getting your name out there.
Well, that's something I'm, sort of learning to get into. I've run a lot of my business more just as a developer and more from a very technical standpoint. But, as you grow and if you want to grow your business, that's something you're going to have to learn is marketing and sales. And
what advice would you give a young business owner or any business owner thinking about going into marketing? What would you give them? What advice would you give them?
I always give the advice of try to hire to your weaknesses. So if you're not good at something, whatever, you try and find people that are better at that than you, and you need to be involved in all aspects of your business as an owner to some degree, but you don't want to be, and there's lots of different things that need to happen in a business, but you don't want to spend too much of your time on things that drain you. Spend the most of your time on the things that energize you and give you passion, but then the things that need to be done, find people that are better at that than you. And so that's kind of a philosophy that I've tried to maintain. But I just wanted to share some of these tools from our findings. If you guys have any questions, feel free to send us an email or leave a comment, and give any sort of feedback. So at that, we'll kind of wrap up the show, and thanks for tuning in. Check back next week.